Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is a very highly requested video. It is part 2 of my Amazon FBA update. So if you guys haven't already seen my previous videos about Amazon, I did one where I'm starting an Amazon challenge and then a second one where I talked you through the first few steps, which was mostly product selection. In this video, I'm going to be talking about ordering the samples and getting the packaging designed. So subscribe if you would like more Amazon and Nomad and working online and traveling full-time updates. But for now, let's get into the video. So when I last spoke to you, I was doing product selection and I gave you lots of advice on how to choose your product and the parameters you should be setting for revenue and demand and all that kind of thing. All of that is still true, but I have made a bit of a change since that last video. So in the previous video, I was looking at selling on Amazon US or UK, and I was giving you numbers for those. All of that still holds true, and if you want to sell on those, which 99% of you will, then those numbers are still going to be really useful. But we have actually changed to now be selling on Amazon Australia. Amazon Australia has only just launched, so at the moment there's pretty much no customers, but there's also pretty much no competition. So product research isn't really important for that anymore because you just choose the biggest, most successful products and list them on there and nobody else is doing it. The downside is that you're not going to make money for a long time because there's no customers, and you're going to need to be spending on stock and ads to make sure that when the customers come, you're ready and you're the big leader. So I wouldn't recommend Amazon Australia for someone brand new unless you don't need the money now. If you can wait 6 months or a year for your sales to start picking up, then Amazon Australia is an insane opportunity. But if you are looking to start a business now, maybe you're already traveling, you want an online income, I would stick with UK, US, or Europe. So what that means is that product research for us was super quick because we just picked some of the biggest products on Amazon US. I'm not going to be able to say what the products are because I'm working with some other partners and so it's not really my place to share, but I will still be able to take you along the entire journey step by step and make sure I give you tons of useful tips. Actually, knowing what we're selling isn't going to be very useful to you because we're selling it. And what you mostly need to know is the things to look for, the common mistakes, the things to get right. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you along the journey. So when we were choosing what products to sell, we decided the first one that we're going to launch, but we also got a list of about 10 or 20 that we would like to launch over the next several years, and kind of ranked them. So what I've done is I've ordered samples for our top 3 and I've tried to choose suppliers who can do the top 10. So choosing suppliers is what we're into now. And what I did is I went onto Alibaba, which is very, very popular for FBA sellers. You've probably heard of it if you've watched any other videos about selling on Amazon before. And it's basically a website from China where there's tons and tons of suppliers in China who can make anything you could ever dream of. And it's generally pretty cheap. So people go onto that and they choose their suppliers and then you have a supplier for life to make your Amazon products. So I obviously created an account, went on and started contacting suppliers. I probably contacted about 30 suppliers, I would guess. And what I was specifically looking for is ones who can make several of the products from our list. Ideally, all of our top 3 right now and up to our top 10 in future. Because if you can have a supplier who makes several or even all of your products, obviously right now you're only launching 1, but you're going to be launching 10, maybe 20, especially if you want to sell your store for $1 million in a few years' time, you're going to need probably at least 10 products for that. So you want to be thinking long term and try and choose a supplier who can cover a lot of the things that you're going to want in future. A good tip for Alibaba is to spend quite a while on each supplier's page because it turns out they get those stats. So they only reply to ones who've spent a while browsing their page and reading their information. I don't think they know clicks or anything, but they know how long you've spent on their page. So I spent several days emailing people because I would search for what I wanted to buy and then go through and see which one had a picture that I liked, and then click through on that, and then I would just leave it on their page. I'd probably do something on my phone or watch a YouTube video. Obviously I scrolled around their page a bit because I actually do want to read about the supplier, but I also left it on for probably 5 or 10 minutes just on their page. So then when they got my inquiry, they were really keen because they were like, wow, this person spent 10 minutes on my page. She's clearly interested and not just emailing everybody. So I did that for about 30 different people. And the secret with emailing them is to, I think, keep it quite short and direct. I know there are some Alibaba outreach messages which are really, really long and have a whole grid where they can fill in all the different prices for different unit amounts, but I kind of think all of that is negotiable anyway, like the unit price and the unit quantities. So you mostly just want to know what they're like to work with. Do they speak good English? Do they reply to your emails quickly? Do they reply to your emails with the things you actually wanted to know, or something else totally random? So I would recommend obviously saying who you are, make yourself sound pretty big. And, you know, don't say that this is your first ever product. Just say, I'm from X company and we are going to be selling this on Amazon. They all know what Amazon FBA is, so that's pretty normal. They're definitely targeting FBA sellers. So yeah, say who you are, and then I would ask a few questions, not a ton, but maybe like 3 or 4, just to test if they can reply to multiple questions at once, because some people, including British people, can only seem to reply to one thing at a time, and that can be quite frustrating. So ask several questions just to check that they reply in detail to you. The other thing that I always ask them for is a product catalog. A lot of them will have websites where they'll show you all the different products they can make, but if you ask them for a product catalog, that will show you a bunch of the products that they can make rather than just the one that's on their listing on Alibaba. So that is how you'll find suppliers who can do a multiple selection of the products that you want and also speak really good English. So then we got on to ordering samples. We ordered samples from 5 suppliers, and all of them we only ordered from people who could make all of our top 3 products. That wasn't going to be a hard rule. We wanted ones obviously who could make several of our top 10, but in the end I managed to find 5 who could do all of our top 3. So we've only ordered from those 5, and this is a point at which being a nomad can be a little bit tricky because you need an address to post the samples to. So we actually got them posted to a friend here in Georgia, and they took between 5 days and like 25 days to arrive. So you need an address where they can be posted to, and ideally where you're going to be. Of course, you could get them posted to a friend or your parents back in your home country and they could just have a look at the samples for you, but I think it's much, much better if you can see the samples yourself. You're talking about spending thousands on your first order probably, so it's really important, I think, that you see the products in real life and see what you're going to be spending all your money on and test them out and see if you can break them and see how the quality is and all that kind of thing. So we got them ordered here to Georgia. We're actually going to see our samples today, which is why I wanted to film this before I see them and get too ahead of myself and forget what I learned along the journey on the way. Yeah, so we've ordered 3 samples from 5 people, so 15 altogether, and we ended up paying between $100 and $150 per supplier for the samples. Most of that was for postage because apparently posting to Georgia is expensive, but I would guess wherever you are, it's probably going to be quite expensive to post to from China. So the samples we did pay for. Sometimes the samples are free, but they were pretty cheap. I think they do you an extra good deal on the samples. But you should expect probably to spend that kind of money on your sample process. So we've spent like $500 or $600 on samples. I know that my original plan was to do this challenge really cheaply, only spending a few £1,000s. But because we're now doing Australia and because we're now partnering with some other people, we're actually going to be spending quite a lot more because it's a much more aggressive approach. And we're going to be launching some big products in Australia and really kind of dominating the platform. I still think you can do it really cheaply, and my plan is to talk you through all of the costs on the process so that you can at least know which costs are optional, what the vague costs are going to be, a lot of the hidden costs. Let me know if you want a video actually specifically on the costs, just comment down below. Because I think there's probably a lot more things that cost money than you might realize. Obviously you have to buy the products, but there's a lot more things like packaging design or Amazon fees or stuff like that. So let me know in the comments if you would like that video, but I will also be explaining the costs along the journey. So we ordered our samples, we're going to be checking them out today. They'll send you a tracking number, all very exciting. And in the meantime, while you're waiting for 1 to 4 weeks for your samples to arrive, you can start setting up your Amazon account. So we have set up our Amazon account, listed our business registration number, all that kind of thing. You can also make the listing for your product and it just won't be live. Obviously you can't include the photos yet because you're going to need to photograph your product once it arrives, which will be a separate video. But you can kind of start playing around with the description. You can put in just a photo from your supplier while you wait for yours to arrive. And obviously it won't be live for people to buy, but that's a nice bit of progress you can make, just registering your company, adding the bank where you're going to pay your Amazon fees, but also where you're going to receive the money, all that kind of stuff. I believe the Amazon account does cost a bit per month. So if you're being really careful on money, you may not want to do this part yet, but also don't underestimate how long it can take. I know in some countries you need it approved, maybe you need a registered business number, depending on what country you're selling in. So just don't leave this too late, because it would be really frustrating if you're ready to order and then you discover there's this whole admin process on the side. So if you can afford to pay the Amazon fees while you're ordering, maybe it will even give you a bit of fire in your belly to hurry up, and once the samples arrive you just choose and you get your order placed, and it might make you actually push along a bit faster, because I know things like this can really drag out. In fact, you will have seen from these videos that it has a bit for us, because it's not our #1 business, it's not our #1 priority. So don't let that happen to you. Make sure that you're pushing forwards, especially if it's going to be your #1 income. So we set up our Amazon page, we've set up the listings for the products that we're going to be launching in the order we're going to be launching them. We've kind of started doing a bit of research into the titles and all that kind of stuff, but I will talk a lot more about the listing when we actually get to that stage. And the final thing that we have done is we've ordered the packaging. So I hired someone on Upwork, but you can of course also use Fiverr. You might even be able to do it yourself if that's one of the skills you have. It's not one of the skills that I have. So we hired a designer on Upwork. All you have to do is get the packaging specifications, like the measurements and stuff, from your supplier, and then also know what has to go on the packaging. Like, are there specific legal things that you have to include about not suitable for children or not suitable for consumption or any of that kind of thing. If you are doing a consumable like food or beauty or something, there's probably some very specific rules of what you have to include with ingredients and that kind of thing. But you know, if you're just doing an oven glove or something, then maybe not so much. So be sure to think about what needs to go onto your packaging. At this point, you will want to have a company name, maybe even a logo. I think I'm actually going to do a separate video about all the things that you don't need that you think you need, and I would say a logo is on that, and probably also a website, because you really want to just save money, save time, save focus, because you can only spread yourself so thinly, and just get your product created. But you will need some packaging and it will need to look really professional. So hire a designer for that. We paid our designer $150 to do our packaging design. And one thing that I think is a really good tip is, if you know how to use Photoshop, maybe even if you don't, ask for the files in Photoshop format. So what I've done, I already use Photoshop quite a lot. I've got him to send me the files in Photoshop format, and then that means I can tweak a few things. So for example, if we launch the same packaging but in several different colors or several different types, then we can just change the coloring on some of it, and then it will be matching packaging but in different colors, so you can tell it's one brand. Or if you want to add a website later, or if you don't quite like the font, that kind of thing. So I've asked for the designs in Photoshop so that I can edit them over time. And I've also asked for him to send me a list of all the fonts that he used, and to only use free fonts so that I can then go and download them. And then also he sent me some other color suggestions that will go well together, because choosing colors is a really underestimated skill. So he sent me the color suggestions of other colors I can use in future. And there's also a really good website, which I will include in the description box, which you can use to find complementary colors, so that you can do different adjustments on your packaging for like different sizes or weights or flavors or styles or whatever you're doing later on. So that was the packaging design. Then you just send it to your manufacturer and they will do you a sample run of the packaging. Maybe I'll leave that bit off. So that is the packaging design which we have done while we wait for the samples to arrive, and in the next video I will be telling you what it was like receiving our first samples, what went wrong, what went right, and how we narrowed down from those 5 into our one supplier that we're going to move forwards with. So in the next video it will be very exciting because we will have placed our first order and we'll be shipping it to Amazon to put in their warehouse, and I'll know a lot more about all that kind of thing. So I will keep you guys up to date as the journey goes on. Let me know in the comments below whether you have specific questions, if I missed anything out, if there's other videos you want me to make that are kind of spin-offs from this Amazon series. I am totally happy to make more videos for you, so just let me know. Of course, don't forget to subscribe whether you want to know about FBA specifically or about making money online and being a nomad. There will be a ton of information on this channel for you. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!